So in this video, we are going to create an inquiry app application. So whenever in so many CRM or ERP application or if so many product, whatever the product website or everything is there, every application will have a module that is inquiry processing. Means whatever the inquiries they might be getting from calling, email marketing, from website, they need to show that they need to categorize them according to some filters or something. They need to keep track of the inquiries, like which inquiry is in which status. Do we call back to them? Have that inquiry got resolved or something? So many things are there. So every project will have this module. Fine. Now, but extra thing what we are going to do, obviously Angular 19 we will be doing, but we will be writing .NET Core API also. I will be explaining how do we write the .NET Core API. So things to cover, like we will be creating the API project, database also I will create in front of you. Then we will write the API, then we will create the Angular project and integrate the APIs we created in the Angular project. So complete from database creation, then API creation and consuming those APIs into our Angular application. So whole project I'm going to explain. Fine. First, I will start with the database. Now, so again, I'm not starting like how do we install. In previous video, I have already explained how do we install the SQL Server and Visual Studio. So just follow that for installation process, then you can jump to this. Now, so this is my local SQL Server. So I'm just connecting to it. Now we need to create a database. So right click on the database, new database. I will be naming my database name as InquiryDB. DB, enter. So this will create a database. Now in this database, I need to create the table. So let's expand it. Now in table, right click, new table. I'm not using that SQL query just to save the time. I'm just using the designer to create the table. But you can use the SQL queries also, that create table, table name, like that. Fine. Now we are going to have three tables. Let's say first is like obviously inquiry table. Then inquiries can be categorized into type, like what kind of inquiry it is. Let's say inquiry type. Fine. Then inquiry might have different status also. So we need one more table, that is inquiry status. Okay, because I want to explain that foreign key relationship also. How do we do that? Fine. So three tables we are going to create. So first we will start with the master table. So let's say status ID, data type, let's say int, allow null. We need to make it primary key. So set primary key. Again, identity also we need to set. So identity, double click, yes. Status, then status varchar. So only two columns will be there. Let's save it. Inquiry status. This is my first master table. Okay. Let's create another one. Then second will be for inquiry type. So type ID, again integer, not null, primary key. These are the things which we have to do in every column. Fine. Inquire type ID, then type name. Varchar 50, not null. Let's save it. So this will be inquiry type. Two tables we have created. Now our actual table that will store the inquiries. So inquiry ID, integer. This is again primary key. Set identity. Then we need inquiry type ID, like whatever the inquiry we are going to create, what's the type of that inquiry? So inquiry type ID, integer. This will be foreign key. We will add the foreign key afterwards. First, we will save the table. Then inquiry status ID, integer. Then customer name. Who has created this inquiry? So customer name, varchar, just basic detail we will take. Again, this is also mandatory. Mobile number. Again, mobile number, let's say we are creating application for Indian users, so max 10 digit we can specify. Email, we can say it is optional. We will keep it as optional. Then message, what's the inquiry actually? Message can be long, right? So for that, we will put max 2000 character. And this is also mandatory. And one more column we will need, that is created date. So when we when the inquiry we got it. Okay, created date, sorry, date, time we need. Fine. So these are the various column we have: inquiry ID, inquiry type ID, inquiry status ID. These two are foreign key, customer name, mobile number, email, message, and created date. And one more extra column, resolution. What we did on this inquiry. Let's say here also 1000 max character they can provide. Resolution can be optional because for some inquiries we might provide some resolution, for some inquiries we might not provide. So that's why this I'm keeping it as optional. Let's save this inquiry. So we have created three table. Let's just refresh and let's see. So if you can see, three tables we have created. Now in this table, inquiry type ID and inquiry status ID, these are nothing but foreign key. So let's add the relationship, add. So first table I'm selecting. So my primary table will be inquiry status and key will be status ID, and here foreign key will be inquiry status ID. So primary key from status inquiry status column is being connected with inquiry status ID from inquiry table. This is first. Again add. Now for type, then inquiry type ID, inquiry type ID. So again, inquiry type ID from my inquiry table is going to be connected with type ID from my inquiry type. So this is my foreign key. Close and save. So we have created one table and two master table, and we have added the foreign key relationship also. Fine. Our database is ready. Again, this is just a proof of concept kind of video, right? In actual project, there might be so many tables and so many columns also. But just to cover the basic flow, we are going to stick with this table. Again, in actual application, we might have users. This inquiry might get attached to particular user. He will work on that inquiry. So many different models will be there. Okay, let's start. So database is done. Now we have to create the API project. So Visual Studio I have already installed. So I'm using, I think 22 is there. If you install now, you also will get 25. If you have 21, that is also fine. 19 is also fine. Fine. Let's open a new Visual Studio instance. So now database is created. So let's start the API. So Visual Studio instance I'm opening. Let's open the new Visual Studio instance. Create new project. So I'm just going to create an API project for our inquiry application. So what you need to search API, then you will get this template, ASP.NET Core Web API. You click on next. You have to provide the unique name also, inquiry.api, and I will be selecting a folder where I want to keep this. So I'm just going to select Angular 19 folder one and click on next. You don't have to do anything over here. Already by default, whatever we need, it's already selected. Click on create. So this will create our API project. Now, so you can see this is the default empty project we have got. Now we have created our database. Now when we work with .NET and from MVC, we got entity framework. So when we don't use that ADO.NET and all older things we use entity framework to communicate with our database. So first thing in our employee project, app setting.json is there. So in previous version with MVC or ASP.NET, we used to have web config, but now with core, we have this app setting.json. So here you need to provide our connection string, database connection string. So that will be like this. Let me just copy, paste it over here. So over here, you need to provide your connection string name. Okay. So your database name, first server name. So let's get the server name. So this is my server name. Sometimes if we are using online database, so we have to provide IP, username and password, but it's a local database. So I don't have to provide that. Just a database name is enough. Then, sorry, server name is enough. Then your database name. What's our database name that we need to provide? So inquiry DB. Let's get it. Let's provide it over here. And trusted connection, we are saying like, I trust this connection. Wait, why we are getting error? Okay, comma. No. Logging. After that connection string. What is this error? Missing member name. Sorry. This is the extra thing. Okay, so connection string we have created. Inside that, we have provided the server name, database name. Once you provide the connection string in your app setting.json, then you need to create a model folder. So by default, we don't get model folder, but just to separate our things, we create a model folder. So add new folder and the name will be models. Anything you can give. Okay. Now in model, first model I will be creating is for my DB context class. So a normal class I'm creating. So class name will be, since our project name is Enquiry API, so we will go with Enquiry DB context. So this class is going to be a replica of your database. Fine. Again, now, as I said, we are going to use entity framework. So by default, when we create the project, we don't get that entity framework installed. So we need to install it. So these are the commands we have. Just like how do we install the package in Angular? Na? Just like that, entity framework we need to install. So you just have to go to tools, NuGet package manager console. Just a console we are opening. Enter. We are installing the entity framework. Then second one is for SQL Server. Since we are using SQL Server, if you are using Oracle or something else, you will be using respective package for that database. Then design. And last one, that is tools. So these 4 entity framework packages we need. Fine. So we have installed all the 4 packages. So here you can see packages are coming. Now we added connection string into app setting.json. Then we installed entity framework and we have created our Enquiry DB context class. Now this class we have to override with DB context. So DB context, make sure E and C should be capital. Then only that suggestion will come. See, IntelliSense using entity framework. If you make the spelling mistake over here, that IntelliSense won't come. Now we need to create the constructor and write some code. So let me just copy some code. So Enquiry DB context and over here our class name. Fine. So we have created our Enquiry DB context and this is constructor we have created. Inside that, I will explain it to this, like why we are doing this, because as I said, this is our database class. This class is going to replicate our database. So we have to provide the connection string. Like for this database class, what is the connection? Which database I'm going to use? So that's why we have to provide the option. Now, once you create the DB context class, the next thing in program.cs, you have to register that class. Okay. So for that, builder.service, let's just get it over here. So builder.service, your DB context name. Our DB context name is Enquiry DB context. So this you have to provide it over here. Then here you need to provide your DB connection string name. So what you have stored, let's say Enquiry con. Okay, so this is your connection string name. In one API project, you can have multiple database connection string also. So that's why unique name you have to provide. So this name you have to provide. So by builder configuration get connection, you are trying to read the connection string. Means this data you are trying to read. And then you are assigning this data to the option of the DB context class. Fine. So DB context class is ready. Then we have to create respective model of our database table. So let's create one more model class. So first, like I will be completing the status. So let's say status, or let's use the same name. What's the name of our Enquiry status? Enquiry status. Add. Fine. So our table, our model got created. Now in this model, we have to create our properties. So how many properties we have? Those many properties we have to create. So status ID, copy the column name, data type will be int, just like that. One more property for status, that is varchar. So obviously we have to go with string. Fine. So you have created 2 properties. Again, it will say status must not be nullable. With new framework, we have to initialize with string.empty. Fine. Now, status ID is our primary key. So we have to specify that also. So above the property name, you have to add square bracket, capital KEY. Okay. So You need one import for this. Why it's not suggesting? Data annotation should suggest, but it's not suggesting. Why? See, it is suggesting over here. Okay. Key, comma, database generated, and then database generated option dot identity. We have set identity, right? Then this status, this is required, right? So we can add a validation that is required. Fine. So this is the first model we have created. Just like that, we will create another model. Let's create another class. And second will be our inquiry types. So let's copy the column name, sorry, table name, same name classes I'm creating. EROP, let's get the properties name. So type ID, always copy the column name. Okay. If you make the spelling mistake, when you run, then you will get the error. Then second column is type name. Fine. Now same thing we have to do it over here also. So I'm just copy pasting things now. This will be string is equal to string dot empty. Fine. So we have created our model, our two model which are going to be connected with our database table. Fine. Third model we have to create. So right click, add class. So third is inquiry model. So let's get the column name, that is inquiry. So I don't want to confuse with the name. So we will go with inquiry model. Okay. Save. Now over here we need the properties, right? So I will just copy paste the basic thing. Then we will just change the column name. Okay. Let's open it side by side so we can quickly copy paste. Fine. Now inquiry ID, this is our primary key. It will go over here. Then inquiry type ID, this is our foreign key. Then customer name, it will go over here. I'm just copy pasting. Then I will change the data type. Mobile number, email, message. Last one was created date. One more property we will need. That will be resolution. Fine. Let's maximize. Now we will just add the data type. Inquiry type ID and inquiry status ID will be integer. Fine. Let's remove this. Then customer name is there, mobile number, email, message, created date. This is date time. So date time. Okay. Let's remove this also. Fine. So we have created our model. So if you see, we have created inquiry type here also. We put our class name same as it is of the table name. But in case of model, we have used another name. So here we can provide our table name because this model is going to be connected with our database table. So name should be same. If you are not putting the same class name as the table name, you have to provide the table name over here. So our table name is inquiry. Fine. Over here saying this model is going to be connected over here, but here you don't have to specify because same name we have kept. Now three models we have created. Now these models we have to connect with our database. So our db context, so our db context class public db set our status inquiry status. See, everything is IntelliSensing public db set inquiry type. We are just creating object of it. public db set. Last one, inquiry model. Okay. So what are the models or the classes which are connected with your database? Those models you need to add it over here as a db set, saying this is my database class, and in this database, from this database, I am using these three tables. Okay. So this is your database representative class, and these are your column table representative class, and you are combining it over here. Fine. So basic things are ready. Now we can move ahead and create a controller. View, Solution Explorer. Fine. Now in controller folder, by default, we get this weather controller. Let's create a new controller. Add controller. So now over here, you need to select API. Okay. I'm going with empty. We can go with all the ready-made code also can be there, but I'm going with empty so that we can write some code by ourselves. If we choose this option now, everything will be created by default. You don't have to write a single line of code also. That is called scaffolding, but we will go with the empty controller. So controller we have selected, then we have to provide the name. So let's say inquiry master, just a unique name I am giving. On click of add, it will create a controller. See, it is overriding controller base. Fine. So we have created our controller. Now in this controller, we have to create instance of our DB context class. Okay. So let me just copy something. So inside our controller class, we have to first create the constructor of this. Then here our DB context name. So inquiry DB context and the same data type over here. So this is like injecting our DB context class into our constructor, into our controller class. Now here we have to create some method. Now inquiry type and inquiry status, this we are just going to create the get API, because the CRUD operation I'm not going to cover, because CRUD operation I'm going to cover for the inquiry. So same thing will be there also. So if we are going to complete the whole application, we need inquiry status and inquiry type also in the drop down, right? So that's why we just need a get API of inquiry status and the type. So first method I'm going to create is HTTP get one. So here, or we can create a separate controller also, or we can put all the code into a single controller also. That is also fine. But ideally, for inquiry type, you will be creating one more controller. Inquiry status, you will be creating one more controller, so that your specific module code will be different, will be handled in a different file. Fine. So here, HTTP get method will be there. Now I'm providing the method name. So get all status public. What type of data I'm going to return? List of my status. So list of my model. So inquiry status. This is my model. Okay. Now over here we need to write var list. So underscore context dot inquiry status dot to list. Fine. So we got the list, whatever the record we have in our table now, we will get it by this line. And we need to return list. See, error is also gone. So what's the return type we said? List of inquiry model. So that we got and we are returning. This is a very simple basic API. Just like this, we will need another API. So again, HTTP get our method name, get all types, public list. What type of data you are going to return? That model you need to specify inquiry type. Round bracket, curly bracket, enter. Again, var list underscore context dot inquiry type dot to list. Fine. Then you need to return it. Okay. So we have created our get method. Fine. Then just these are the only two things we are going to need when we are going to create the Angular application. So that's why I'm not covering the CRUD operation of this. Then we will start for the CRUD operation of our inquiry table. That is the main table. So first we need a API which will get us all the inquiries we have, right? So I will just copy paste this code now and I will put it over here. So get all inquiry. Method name I will change. What type of data, what type of model I'm going to return? So inquiry model. Fine. So here again inquiry model only will change. Correct? Model dot to list. So this is my get method to get all the inquiries. After that, we need one API to create new inquiry. So HTTP post API will be there. Method name create new inquiry. So public, what type of data we are going to return? So inquiry model. So inquiry model, we can say return type and method create new inquiry. It's not like whatever name you provided or same name you can add. You can have a different name also. This is your method name and this is your route name. It can be different. Okay. Fine. Now this API is responsible to insert a data into our inquiry table. Fine. So obviously when we from Angular side, when we click on say we pass the object. So that object we need to catch it over here as a parameter. So we need form body or not. Let's try to catch it. Then if we are not getting, then we will use that. So what type of data you are going to get? Inquiry model only. So inquiry model obj. Fine. So we have created a method which is going to accept a data of type inquiry model. Now, so underscore context dot inquiry model dot add, and we have to pass the object. But consider like from API, they are not sending that date. So here, whatever the object you get, created date, you will specify the current date. So created date is equal to new, sorry, date time dot now. This is how we get the current date. Okay. Just like in JavaScript, how do we write new date? Na? Just like that over here, we write date time dot now. So it will get us the current date. So whatever the object you get in that, you are modifying the created date. And then underscore db dot save changes. So this is actually going to save the data. And then we will simply return object. Fine. This is our save API call. Then we need the put API call. So HTTP put method. Method name will be update inquiry. I will just copy paste now. So update. In update, what we need to do, we are going to get the model, what we need to update. So when we have to update, first we need to get the particular record. So here where record is equal to underscore context. From our database, we are going to get the particular model which we want to update. So dot inquiry model dot single or default. What inquiry ID we will match, and object dot inquiry ID. Because in case of update, you will get the inquiry ID. So here we will write if record is not null, just like in Angular or JavaScript, we write find, right? So when we write the find, we add a null undefined check. If we got the record, then only we do something. So just like that. If we got the record, if record is not null, then only we need to update. So how do we update? Record. Now, what are the things you need to update? So record dot, let's say resolution you want to update. Obj, new object, new data, you get it in the object dot resolution. This property you are allowing to update. Then record dot, let's say, what's that? Inquiry status only you can update. Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm only allowing two fields to be updated. Remaining things you cannot update. Then this thing we don't need, and db.save changes inside this. Why it is giving record maybe null over here. So we added a check for that now. Okay, sorry, not null. So if it is not null, then only it will go inside and it will write the code. And we are going to return the object. So this is your update query. So get is done, create is done, update is done. Then we need the delete. So let's write HTTP delete one, delete inquiry by ID. Fine. Just like this same we might be needing. So I'm just copy pasting. In case of delete also we need, spelling mistake is there. We will need the parameter. So int ID. Okay. From delete, we will pass true and false. So return type will be, if delete is success, we will say true. If it is error, we will pass false. So here what we will return, boolean, bool. Okay. So first, whenever we have to delete, first we need to get that record. So by using the single or default, we are trying to get the particular record. If record is not null, we will pass to remove it. So underscore context dot employee model dot remove, and you need to pass the record. Then db.changes. So it will actually remove the particular model we have said to remove. Okay. And here we will say return true. And in else, if we don't get the data in record, if you pass the wrong ID, we will say return false. Something is wrong. Again, it's not the very proper code, but just I'm not going into very deep, very basic code I wanted to explain. Okay. In coming videos, again, I will modify this code. How do we actually write the code? This is very basic code. Okay. Now, so you can see we have written all our API. Now let's jump to our Angular project. We forgot to test if a API project is running or properly or not. So let's try to run the API project. By default, it will take some port and it will run on that. We didn't install the Swagger, so we won't be able to test all the API, but at least get all type API we will be able to test. Get API only will be able to test. Let me just insert some data from the database. So in type, I'm just inserting some data. Edit mode. It is taking time. Yeah. Okay, so type ID is our primary key. So we don't have to send provide the data, and it is identity also. Let's say what inquiry. Let's say if we talk about mm, event management companies there, and we are creating an application for them. So it can be wedding inquiry. One inquiry might be of birthday. Fine. So we have created two. Now let's try to test it. So slash API slash, currently we just have one controller. So controller name is inquiry master slash our method name, actual API method name, that will be get all type. Let's see if everything is correct. We should be getting the response. So let's see. So I think we got an error. Let's say certificate chain issue. Okay. Saying, so see what the error we got, the certificate change was issued by authority is not trusted. So when we are in app setting, we have provided over here now. So here some more parameter we need to add. Let me check what is that. It is just from our .NET application. It is saying like, I'm not able to trust the source from where you are trying to read the data. Let me just see what we need to pass. In addition to trust connection, we have to provide trust certificate also true. Fine. So this is the one more property you need to add in your connection string. Let's try it one more time. So it was API slash, let's just copy the controller name. inquiry master, then our actual method name, that is get all type, execute. Again we got error. So see, now the error is invalid object name inquiry types. See, now let's check what's the column table name, inquiry type, but why it is trying to find. Okay, so see, as I've explained, when we created the model in inquiry model, we have added the table name, but in inquiry status and inquiry type, we didn't add the table attribute. So in DB context, here you can see in the object analysis it has added yes, so we just need to remove it, because our model name and object name should be same, because that's the column name it is trying to find. Okay, because on this two model we didn't specify the column. Fine, let's run and try it again. I'm just explaining every possible scenario, like either whenever we create the model you can provide the table name also, and your model name can be anything, but if you don't want to provide the table attribute, your model name and your column table name should be exactly the same. Now here, yes, we need to remove. Wait, why it is giving error over here? We didn't change that, right? Wait. Why everywhere it is giving inquiry model? Oh, so inquiry status, we need to remove an inquiry type. Fine. One error is there. So for status also same thing will occur. Let's run it now. So I'm not doing anything pre-recorded, or means these are the error you are also going to face. That's why I'm not skipping anything. Just the solution part. If I also taking time, that just for that part I'm skipping. Otherwise, what are the issues I'm getting, you are also going to get all the issues, and you know like how to resolve those now. Execute. Yeah, so see, now we got the proper response. In database, we had two records in our table, so that record we are able to see. Fine. Now, so APIs are working fine. Now let's jump to the Angular side. Now we have to create a new project. So what I will do, mm, let's open a new window. In Angular 19 folder, I will create a project. So let's open a terminal, cmd ng new inquiry app Angular 19. Fine. Just a project name I am giving. On click of enter, it will ask like which CSS framework you want to go with. So I will simply go with CSS. Do you need a server-side rendering? I will say no. And it will install the node package manager. I'm stopping this process, but you don't have to stop it. Let this process continue, because I use a single copy of node module. Because see, you from YouTube project, I create multiple projects. So I cannot have multiple copies of node module. So I have created a reusable copy of my node module. So for that, let me just open a command prompt. Right click, open run as an administrator. So I need to go to the particular folder d:/cd Angular 19 cd inquiry app. Okay, over here I just need to create the shortcut of Angular 19 node module. So this is that command. This will go over here. So if you go to my inquiry app, so you can see node module is already there, because I'm just creating a shortcut of a folder which I already have it created. Fine. Let's open this project now. Let's open the new instance of Visual Studio Code. One particular folder. I know by checking the video of API, you think it is very easy, but to start this means just to have a basic knowledge, it is okay. But if you really want to jump into the API development, you need to learn C# also. Basic, not in deep, but at least basic. Whenever you are hiring, when people are hiring, They're looking for a full stack developer. Even though you say na ki I know basic of .NET and I am able to create the API, that is also enough for them. They will provide you the basic training, and with that training you will be able to work. They just want you to be confident that you will be able to work or not, right? So for that, just have this idea clear, like how APIs are created, how do we actually integrate those in Angular. So a basic full stack mindset we need. Fine. So the project is created. Now in my node module already I have what do we say, bootstrap and everything already installed. So let me just add the entry over here. So you don't have it. So what you will do, you will run this command npm i bootstrap. So it will install the bootstrap. Once you install the bootstrap, you need to add this link over here also. So in angular.json, you will be adding this link in CSS section over here. Fine. So this is the initial thing we have done. Now it's a single page, right? It's a very single, basically it's a CRUD application only, a single module we are trying. Inquiry, right? Right. So what we need, we can create a list page where we'll be showing all the inquiries, and we will have one create page where we will have just the form. So only two components we are going to need. Fine. So in app component, I will create pages folder. Let's right click, open in a terminal, ng generate component, inquiry list. This is the first component which I'm going to use. Then new inquiry component where I'm going to have the form. Enter. So two components only I'm going to need. I will be needing a service because API call we will be putting into a service folder. So service, right click, open in a terminal, ng generate service. I'm going to give the name as master or inquiry also, anything what you will to what you will like. Fine. So pages folder I have created, service I also have created. Once you create the pages, next thing we have to create the route. So app route.ts, we have to create a route. So first route, I will go it as empty, which will be like a default route. My properties, it will take some time. It's not suggesting. Yeah, so still not suggesting. Let's open it again. Yeah, so now it's suggesting. So path redirect to, we will redirect to, let's say list. Path match strategy we will be needing. We need to match for full path. This is the default route. Then path, this will be list view component, inquiry list component, then path, create new component. What's that? Inquiry, new inquiry component. So three routes I have created. Once you create the component, you will create the route. After that, you will be implementing the navbar. So in app component, we will have the navbar. So let's remove the basic code, whatever we got. And after that, over here, we will need the router. So let's use a bootstrap navbar. Let's inspect. I'm just copying this. So right click, edit, copy, and paste it over here. Fine. We don't need this style. So let's remove this style. So we have copied our navbar. After navbar, you need router outlet. So router outlet is a place where your activated route component is going to be rendered. Fine. Now, so let's try to run the project. Let's open a new terminal. ng serve, enter. Fine. So you can see project is running on 4200. Let's try to open the project now. Localhost 4200. Fine. Our application is coming. You can see navbar is also there. So in navbar, we have the links. So let's add the links also because we have two components, correct? So if you have to add the linking, we need to import router link. And instead of href, you will be use router link. And here you need to provide, let's say this is for list. So what's the route name? List only. So this will go over here. Just like that. We need create also. Our route, that is create new. This is not needed, so let's remove it. Let's just test it if we are able to navigate or not. List. See, we are able to navigate. Route is also coming and component is also getting loaded properly. Now, so first we will complete the new inquiry form, then we will jump to the list part, because unless we create the inquiry, what data is going to be visible in the GET API. Now, so what type of data we need? This is the model, inquiry model, correct? So now we have to create object of this. So what we will do, we have to manually create it. So again, in Angular side, I'm not going to focus so much on code, like how you need to write. The basic functionality, right? We have done the API, that API we need to integrate. So I'm going to use template form. So in pages, inquiry, over here, first, let's create the form. Now, again, I'm explaining one AI tool, which I also came to know just recently. So one tool is there, that is Bolt AI. Okay, let me just copy this. Let me just open another browser. Bolt new. So this is one of the AI tool which will help you if you are working on React or the Angular, a UI specific tool. Okay, so I will say this is my model. And what I need form. You need to specify technology, HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. I need a create form, be specific. Whenever we interact with any AI tool, now we need to be very specific. Okay, so this is my model. I need a create form with HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. Let's ask it. So it will provide you with TypeScript or Angular project, but again, we need to copy paste that piece of code. Where is, see, it is creating this reactive form and everything. Where is the HTML? Okay, let's copy this HTML and we will replace the things we will get, or let's ask it again. Let's try if it just provide the HTML page. Yeah, it is providing. So these are the CSS it needs. So let's copy those CSS. CSS in our component will go to our CSS file. Wait, why it is not copied? Cannot edit. Okay, so see, it is still generating, so we cannot copy. We have to wait for some time. Let's wait. Let's try now. Okay, here only you can check the output also. Fine. Paste. Then we need the HTML. So see, your form is like this. So if we have to design this form, it would have at least taken some time, right? So by using AI tool, we can reduce that time, right? But again, using AI tool somewhat degrade your performance, because if you are already experienced person, you understand everything, then you are using AI tool, it's okay. But if you are new, if you are a big new learner, and if you are using AI, then your career is not going to be going well. because you don't know how to write the code. You don't understand the logic and everything. You just know how to use the AI tool somewhere, because when you work on a project, AI cannot help you, because debugging everything, it cannot help you, because just static code, very basic scenarios it can provide you, but it cannot help you in debugging. Correct? So make sure you use AI properly. Save. So see the form we got, but I think in CSS it was considered by using body. So we don't have body, right? So let's add a parent class, and extra div we will add above this dot parent, and we will move this container inside this parent. Let's save and check. Yeah, now it is looking proper. Fine. So we got the inquiry form. Now we know like what object was there. Let's see if it has converted that object. No. Okay, let it be. So now, as I said, we are going to use the template form. So in your component, now you have to create the object. So new inquiry obj colon. I'm going with any, but you can create class or interface. Fine. Now, what are the properties we have that we need? So let's get those properties. Or let me just copy paste. So these are the various properties we have. Let's just copy after this. So inquiry ID colon. This is primary key, right? So we have to initialize with 0. Inquiry type ID, again, we can go with 0. By default, we are assigning 0. Status ID by default 0. Then customer name, string property, so we can initialize with empty. Mobile number, empty. Email, colon empty. Message, empty. Created date. So created date, we can provide a new date. By default, date will go then. And resolution, this is also again empty. Fine. So we have created object, whatever we need to pass. Again, we are going to use template form is basically ng model. So we have to import forms model over here. Now in the HTML, let's open it side by side. Now in HTML, we need to bind the properties. So, okay, first we will bind the properties, then I will explain this part. So here, square bracket, round bracket, ng model is equal to double quote, new inquiry object dot. Here what you will bind? Inquiry type ID. Fine. And we have a form tag, so we need the name attribute also. Name is equal to same property, whatever you have binded it over here. Now what I will do, I will search this. How many times we have? 2 times only, na? So let me just copy paste this. This I will copy paste over here. Then wherever I have this form control, I'm just saving my time. Fine. I need to replace that with this. Along with this also, I don't need to replace this, also should be there, right? Over here. Fine. Now I just need to change the properties. So inquiry status ID. So some of your time will be reduced. Customer name, then mobile number, then we have email, then message. Wait, message is there. Email should be over here. While copy pasting, make sure you are doing it properly. Resolution. Let's save and let's check if we have any error or no. New inquiry. Let's check the console. No error is there, so it is fine. Now, on click of save, submit inquiry, we need to call our API. Fine. So we have created our service. So in service, let's create the API call function. So in service, we have to write the API call function. Now we are going to use HTTP client library to make the API call. So this is Angular 19 project standalone. So we got app config. In app config, you need to add provide HTTP client function in the dependency injection. Then in master service, you will inject HTTP client. Fine. Now we need the function create inquiry. Fine. So return this dot HTTP dot post API. We need the URL. So let's get the URL first. So up till now URL will be same. Then slash we have post API. So let's get the method name, that is create new inquiry. This is the post API. So UI, and we are going to need the object. So from component we are going to call this function. So we, while calling this function, we will pass the object. That object we will pass it over here as a second parameter. Fine. Now in component we need to inject our master service. So master service is equal to, I'm going to make use of inject master service. So inject we got from Angular 16. Okay. With each version, we know like with in every 6 month Angular team is releasing version, but you don't have to remember everything. There are some major changes with each version. From 16 we got inject, your authguard is a arrow function, your interceptor is an arrow function. Previously it was services. So some major changes we get it every version. So you just need to remember that. I know like with every version we have around 10 to 12 major things, but out of that only 2 or 3 things will be major actually. So even if you explain that also in interview, that is also enough. Because no one can remember everything, right? Fine. Now over here we need function on save. So here this dot master dot create new inquiry, we need to pass the object. So object means nothing but this. So this dot new inquiry object dot subscribe result colon any. Again, I'm going with any because video is not only focused with Angular. You can create class and interface and bind it over here. And let's add a debugger over here. And if it is an error, it will go to the error block. So comma error. We are supposed to get an error, but I want to showcase that error. That's why I didn't cover that part. Let just add. And this function we have to call on the save button. On click of it, we will call that function. So around bracket click this function. Let's just save and let's try if we are able to hit the API. We should get one error. Let's first try it. Oh, sorry. Again, one thing is remaining. We have that API, right? So here we need to bind the data, whatever the data we get from our table. Let's just insert data into inquiry status also, because we didn't write the CRUD API, right? So from database, we have to initialize new in progress, just some status we are adding. Progress on hold resolved. Fine. So in inquiry status, we have 4 records. Now, what we need to do here, this is the static data, but this data, this should not be static. Whatever the data we get from our API, that we need to bind it over here. So now we are going to make API call. While making the API call, I can make use of async pipe. How? I will tell you. So first in our service, we need to write the API call. So get status. So return this dot HTTP, sorry, dot get API. I'm adding. So sorry, get, and now we need the URL. So what was our URL? So this is for get all type. Just like that, status will be there. So get all status. So this is for status. Just like that, we need one more function for type. Get types. Get all type. Fine. So in service, we have created two API call function. Whatever the data we get, that it is going to return. Now in component, what you can do, you can create observable. So type list. You can do a normal API call also in normal way. You can subscribe and you can put it into a variable, but just as in Angular, I'm not explaining anything. So I thought like, let's explain that particular async pipe. Okay. So type list observable. We need to import observable first. Let's import observable from RxJS. RxJS observable. Fine. Then in this variable, what type of data I'm going to store? Observable. Any, or let's go with any, is equal to new. Do we need to initialize it? Yeah. Is equal to new observable any. Fine. So we have created an observable. Just like type list, we will need status list also. Status list. So now to this two observable, we have to pass the data also. So in constructor, what I will do, this dot type list is equal to this dot master service dot get type function. This is only I'm doing. I'm not subscribing over here. Fine. Just like that, status list is equal to this dot master service dot this function. So these functions are returning data type of observable. So we are assigning to a variable which has that data type. Now we will need async pipe. So let's import it also. Async pipe we will use. Now in your HTML over here, let's remove this static one. Star ng for, or we can use ng for directly for loop also. No? Why to use ng for? Again, we have to import. So over here, instead of now we don't have any array where we got that status or the type. We have observable. So now this observable, we can directly subscribe over here by using async pipe. Fine. So instead of subscribing into component, you have stored the observable type of data over here. And in component, you are subscribing. And inside this, your option will go. So item, what type list now? So what we get? Type name, we will bind it over here. And in the value, square bracket, value, item dot, we need to bind type ID. This we will bind it over here. Same like this, we need for the status also. So here we will use status list. And here, what are the properties we have got? Status ID, it will go over here, and status will go over here. Let's save and check if we are able to consume the API first. Now only we should get one error. Let's see. So if you check the network, let's reload. See, two API calls are there, but we are getting CORS error, right? So we created API. It is hosted also properly. If we hit that API from the browser, we are getting the response also. But in Angular application, we are not able to receive the data. It is giving us CORS error. So to enable, because our API is hosted on this port number and our Angular application is hosted running on other port. So it's like you are trying to reach one application from one domain to another domain. So cross domain is there. So that is nothing but CORS error. So you need to allow 4200 in your API side so that Angular will able to consume your API. So for that, in your API side, you need to go to your program.cs. Here you need to create a CORS policy. So that will be like this. In builder, you will create the CORS policy like this. Allow CORS, the policy name you are creating, you are allowing 4200. And you need to bind it at the bottom also in app.useCORS. And over controller, you need to enable it also. Enable CORS, and you need to provide your policy name. What's the policy name we have created? Whatever the name you have given it over here, allow CORS. This you need to provide it over here. Let's run it again. Now we should be able to consume the API. I wanted to show you this error because so many times people ask me like, what is CORS? So this is what CORS. Because in my API also I restrict, if you run your project on 4.0.9, then only my API will provide you the response. Otherwise, you get that CORS error. So this is how I have done it. In my program, in my CORS policy, I have added just 4.2.0.9 port over here. 4.2.0.0 is not there. Fine. Let's try to reload now. Yes, so we got the response. See, 200. Now if you check, see, birthday and data. So this data is coming from API. Got it? So this is done. Wedding. Let's say I'm creating an inquiry for wedding. Status is new. We don't have to show this new. Whenever we are creating new, I will do that later. Customer, let's say Chetan. Mobile number. Again, this API, sorry, does not matter. Chetan@gmail.com. Again, validation and everything I'm not covering, but you can implement message something. Resolution also not needed at the start because this will come in the state admin login, right? But we are not going to complete the whole application. Let's try to add a debugger over here. We should be getting one error. Let's check that. I'm adding a debugger over here. Let's try to hit it. On click of submit. If we check the object, oh, we got the data. So from data was not needed. Anyway, so I thought like from data we need. So we got the, might be like when we deploy, we might need or not sure. Okay. So see, whatever the data you pass from your UI application, that data you got it over here. And that data you are passing it to be saved. Oh, we got error. See, let's see what's the error. Somewhere it's breaking. What it is saying, implicit conversion of data type nvarchar to n-binary. Where it is getting db exceptions or what? For which column we are getting this? It is not. Let's add a try catch block, then we will be able to see. So I'm adding a try catch block. So try. It's not suggesting. Let it be. Try. Okay, and in catch, we will just add a debugger because we just want to see what data we are getting. What is the exception? So ex. Let's just see one more time. What's the error? On click of submit, we got the response. Let's add a debugger over here. Continue. Let's check what's the exception properly. So it is saying implicit conversion of data nvarchar to n-binary. Let's check the data type now. So in inquiry, so we have int. Oh, here you can see for mobile number we have binary. So it should be varchar, na? Let's save again. Let's continue, and if we hit the API again, now it should save properly. Save. F10, 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 F10. Yeah. So see, if this line is executing means we have got the object. If you see the object, see inquiry ID 1. And if I show you the table, select star, you will be able to find the data inserted. See, data is there. So we are able to create the inquiry. Now let's just show that inquiry in the list table. In this component, we just need to show it. So just like this get API, we need one more API to get all the inquiries. What's the method name? Get all inquiry. So in service, I'm creating one more function. So in inquiry list component, Now here I will explain the normal way. How do we write the API call? So first masters service inject. What we need to inject? Master service. Then we are going to need the data. We are going to store a data into a normal variable. So inquiry list colon any array of object over here. Now on the page load, we need to call the what do we say? On the page load, we need to call that API. So implementing on init. Once you implement it, it will ask you to create ng on init. Now in ng on init also, you can write that API call function. Inside constructor, inside ng on init, this dot master service dot, which function we are going to call? Get all inquiry. This function is going to return observable type of data, so we can subscribe to it. Result colon any, whatever the data we get, that we will assign it to this variable. So this dot inquiry list is equal to res. Sorry, capital R I have written. Fine. Now this data we need to showcase into the table. Let's again ask this Bolt AI tool. Create a design UI for above model with bootstrap card. I need the bootstrap card design. Let's see if we get it properly or not. Again, it is updating the same page. Fine. Let's get this. Okay, it is writing, so we won't be able to copy paste. Let's give it some time. Again, I'm repeating, don't use AI too much. Whenever you are stuck, then only you should go for the AI tool. Otherwise, you are lacking somewhere. Fine. Let's copy the CSS first. Let's check how it is looking. Yeah, so see, this is the card it has created. Consider like if you have to create this kind of card, how much time you would have needed. But by using AI, it is ready-made available. Fine. Let's copy. That's what I said. AI is too dangerous. It is going to cost our job. If you don't believe me, wait for 1 or 2 years. You will be seeing how market is changing. It is already started, but wait, again it will change. So what we have in our hand, be full stack, explore what are the related technologies you have. If you know Angular, learn React, learn Vue also, get a basic idea also. So that company, if currently Angular project is not there, they will find React or Vue.js project, or even they can assign you to the backend project also, right? If you understand .NET, na, Java is also almost same. If the project is already there, at least you will be able to understand something. By copy pasting also, you will be able to do something. But if you say I don't know anything about the backend technology, then you are in a big trouble. Fine. Now let's copy the HTML. So HTML will go over here. Again, we need that one more parent div we need to create. Let's move it inside this. Let's just save it and check it if we are able to. Okay, this @ example will give error because @ symbol we cannot directly use. So that's why it is giving error. Fine. So see, cards are coming properly. It has added this filter. So we didn't ask it, but still it has added it. Right now, we don't have API for this, but again, you can write the API. Fine. So here we just need to showcase the data. So where is the card? So this is the call LG6, right? So instead of call LG6, I will be using 4. Now here we need @ for loop. Our array name is inquiry list. It will go over here. Inside the for loop, we need to put our call for. So this is the status. So item dot. Now we need the, because if you see from our get API, we won't be getting the ID, but let it be. I will showcase you what I'm talking. Let me just hit the API and let me show you the data get all inquiry. Execute. So see, here we are getting the status ID. We don't know the status. Okay. For now, let's just bind whatever the data we are getting. Fine. This is customer name. Customer name. This is our type. So type also we are not getting, but we have type ID. Again, we need to write the join so that we can get the type name also. This is our message. Item dot message. When it was created. Okay, mobile number is there. Item dot mobile number. Email is also there. Item dot email and resolution. Whatever the resolution IT team has given, that we will provide it over here. They didn't add. Okay, created. Here is the date. Created date. Fine. But we don't want to showcase everything. We just want to show the date. So we will use date pipe. And here what we can say, let's add a date pipe. Let's add the format dd -mmm. Capital M should be there. YY. Let's just save and check if we are able to see the only one card is there, one inquiry is there. So see, that is coming. Let's try to create one more. Inquiry's birthday, status is in new only. Rahul. Fine. Email, let's say rahul@gmail.com. Something message, need, birthday, budget, submit. Do we have a debugger? Yes, let's continue. We didn't showcase that any success or error message. Let's go to the list. You can see that is also coming. Understood? So from creating database, we have written API, and that API we have consumed in Angular project. So whole flow I have covered. So for doing this, almost 1 hour was required. Fine. So that's why for major project, I keep my UI already ready and my APIs already ready, because I will be needing the whole day to create the video. Around 8 or 9 hours video might be there. Because so many people are asking to show the API part also and UI part also. I cannot show that. I cannot create videos for 8 to 9 hours long. Correct? So just to have a basic idea, this video is, I think, sufficient. But again, if you need to learn more into API, pick up any tutorial. First, C#, understand the basic C#, like what are the data type, how do you create a class, method, functions, just the basic. You don't have to go into very much detail also. Then jump to the API. Take my help, take the videos of my help, right? And start it. Fine. But anyhow, be full stack, because that's the industry is going to ask you for. And if you are lacking, then you are in a big trouble. If not now, after 1 year, you are going to be definitely in a big trouble. It is very hard to stay onto the project or stay onto the billing. So believe me, like, be a full stack, be in a safe position. At least for next 2-3 years. After that, again, being full stack also is not enough. Again, we need to start exploring the algorithm, that AI tool, how model, that what things are there, how do we educate those models and everything. Those things are also we need to explore, because IT industry is so much changing gradually. With every 6 months, we can see so many changes are happening. Fine. Okay, so that's it with this video. I hope you are able to grasp some knowledge. Fine. If you are new, please do like and subscribe. In video description, you might be finding a link where you can directly connect with me. WhatsApp group link is there. I'm taking so many live session. You can directly connect with me for any career advice. If you are stuck anywhere, you can connect with me. I will be able to help you. Fine. So that's it. Thank you guys.